There's a coffee shop on Meridian Street that most people walk past without looking twice. Plain windows. A hand-painted sign that reads Loon and Company. The kind of place that smells like cardamom and old books and something you can't quite name. Every morning between 7 and 9, a man named Elliot sits at the corner table, the one by the window facing the door. He orders the same thing, a black coffee, no sugar. He reads the same newspaper, though he never finishes it. And every morning he watches the door. He's been doing this for 41 days. And the person he's watching has no idea. Let me tell you about Maya. Maya is 32, a freelance translator working from her laptop, the kind of person who tips well and apologizes when people bump into her. She moved to this city 8 months ago after a quiet, careful divorce. She doesn't have many people here yet. She likes Loon and Company because no one asks her questions. The first morning Elliot spoke to her, she hadn't asked him to. She was waiting in line, rummaging through her bag for her card, when she heard a voice behind her. "I've got this one." She turned. A man, well-dressed, warm eyes, a kind of easy confidence, was already handing the barista his card. "You look like your hands were full," he said simply. He didn't wait for thanks. He just nodded, moved to the end of the counter, and went back to his phone. Maya stood there with a strange feeling in her chest. It wasn't attraction, not exactly. It was something older, something quieter. She felt indebted. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way she would ever say aloud. But the feeling was there, a small, invisible ledger that had just been updated. Someone gave you something. You owe them. It's one of the most ancient circuits in the human brain. Anthropologists call it reciprocity. Evolutionary psychologists call it a survival mechanism. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, we both survive the winter. But here's the thing about that circuit. It doesn't ask whether the gift was sincere. It doesn't check whether the giver had ulterior motives. It simply registers, a kindness occurred. Balance is now required. Maya knew none of this. She only knew that when she sat down and opened her laptop, she glanced across the cafe and caught Elliot's eye, and smiled. He smiled back. That was day 1. On day 4, he sat down across from her. Not asking, just a gentle, "Do you mind?" "It's crowded today." The cafe was not crowded. But Maya said of course, and they talked for 20 minutes about nothing important. Languages. The rain. Whether the city's transit system was designed by someone who had never used transit. He made her laugh twice. When he left, he said, "Same time tomorrow?" And she said yes before she decided to. By day 9, something had changed in the cafe itself. Or maybe Maya had just started noticing more. There was a woman, Petra, who always came in around 8:15, ordered a lavender latte, and often ended up near Elliot's table. She and Elliot seemed to know each other. Old friends, Maya assumed. They had the easy shorthand of people with history. One morning, Petra sat down with them, and within minutes she and Elliot were laughing at a story Maya hadn't caught the beginning of. "She gets it, doesn't she?" Petra said, gesturing at Maya. "I told him, I said, Elliot, you always find the interesting ones." Maya felt herself sit up a little straighter. There was also Marcus, a broad-shouldered man who worked remotely and always seemed to be somewhere nearby. He'd nod at Elliot like a familiar. Once he stopped at their table and said quietly to Maya, "Good guy, that one. Rare these days." Then he walked away before she could respond. And here is the second trap, the one that tightens the first. Social proof. The human brain, for all its complexity, is deeply tribal. When we are uncertain, when we don't quite know what to think of a person, a place, an idea, we look to others. We use the crowd as a mirror. If everyone else approves, it must be safe. If the people around me trust him, maybe I should too. Feels like wisdom. It's actually just math, the brain taking a shortcut, outsourcing its judgment to the group. And Elliot understood this perfectly. Petra wasn't an old friend. She was a colleague, someone who'd worked with Elliot before in another city on another target. Her role was simple: show up, laugh, validate, leave. Marcus wasn't a regular. He'd been briefed exactly what to say and when to say it. The cafe, even Loon and Company itself, had been chosen because Elliot knew the owner, slightly. enough to ensure a warm word or two would be exchanged whenever Maya was watching. The crowd wasn't real, but to Maya's brain, it was the most real thing in the room. By day 14, she told him about the divorce. She hadn't meant to. It just came out, the way things do when you feel, somewhere in your gut, that you're already among friends. Elliot listened with his whole face. Didn't offer advice. Didn't try to fix it. Just said, "That sounds like it cost you a lot." And Maya thought, this man understands me. On day 22, Elliot asked for a favor. It was small. Embarrassingly small. He said he was helping his sister, a woman in another country, navigate some paperwork. A document that needed to be translated. Nothing sensitive. Just a letter of character reference, he said, something that needed to sound natural in Portuguese. He knew Maya was a translator. He'd known since day 2. "It would take you 20 minutes, he said. "I'd pay you obviously, but honestly, I just feel better if it was someone I trusted." Someone I trusted. Maya said yes before she even looked at the document. She would think about this moment for a long time afterward. She would think, why didn't I hesitate? And the answer she eventually understood was this: the ledger. He'd bought her coffee on day 1. He'd made her laugh. He'd listened to her talk about her marriage. He'd introduced her to people who liked her. He'd made her feel, in a city where she knew almost no one, like she belonged somewhere. Every one of those moments was a deposit into an account she didn't know she was holding. By day 22, the balance was enormous. How could she say no to 20 minutes of translation? The document wasn't about his sister. It was a fraudulent character reference for a financial application. One piece in a much larger scheme involving 3 other people in 3 other cities, all of whom had their own Elliots, their own Petras, their own corner cafes. Maya noticed something on day 23. She'd been thinking about the document, a phrase in it that felt slightly off, a name she didn't recognize, and she did what translators do when something nags at them. She looked it up. The name in the letter, a Sebastio Faria, listed as a business reference, appeared in a Portuguese language news archive. A small article, 18 months old. The article was about a fraud case. And in the 3rd paragraph, describing the network of people involved, there was a detail. Several members of the scheme operated from cafes, building trust through small social rituals before requesting documents or financial cooperation from targets. Maya sat very still. She read the article twice. Then she closed her laptop, ordered another coffee, a long one, the kind that takes time, and did something Elliot hadn't anticipated. She started watching him. Not obviously. Maya was, by profession, a person who noticed language, who caught the gap between what was said and what was meant. She'd spent 15 years translating not just words but intention. She started cataloging the days Petra appeared versus the days she didn't. The way Marcus always arrived before the conversation got personal. The fact that Elliot had never once suggested they meet anywhere other than Loon and Company. She even went back and thought about the coffee on day 1, the way he'd already had his card out. How he'd stepped into line behind her at exactly the right moment. Prepared. On day 28, she called an investigator she'd once translated depositions for. A small favor. Someone who owed her. Within 48 hours she had a name. Not Elliot, that was almost certainly false. His real name was Daniel Voss. Warrants in 2 countries. Specialized in document fraud. Known for long-con setups using social dynamics rather than force. The investigator said, "We've been trying to place him for months. Do you know where he usually is in the mornings?" Maya said, "I know exactly where he is." Daniel Voss was arrested on a Thursday morning. He was at his corner table. He had his coffee. He was watching the door for Maya. She wasn't there. But 3 investigators were, and one of them, a woman named Seo Yun, later told a colleague that when she showed Voss her badge, he looked genuinely confused. Not panicked, just confused. Like a man whose very reliable equation had, for the first time, produced the wrong answer. Maya still goes to Loon and Company. Same time most mornings. She sits at a different table now, not the corner one. And she drinks her coffee with both hands wrapped around the cup, looking at the door herself. Not because she's afraid. Because she learned something those 41 days taught her. something she now carries like a translation. A gift is not always a gift. A crowd is not always a consensus. And the most powerful kind of awareness isn't suspicion. It's simply paying attention. She tips the baristas well. She smiles at strangers. She's still warm, still kind, still exactly herself. She just doesn't let anyone else pay for her coffee anymore.